So very quickly now moving to the next session, which is we all understand as startups, as we build businesses and we build new technologies, new concepts, IP plays a significant role as you scale up and move towards valuation stages. So we have now the workshop on leveraging intellectual property for startup valuation and investment in Indian deep tech ecosystem. The session is powered by Arctic Invent, and we thank them for the support. I would like to invite on stage my friends Govind Kedia, MD Arctic Invent, Gaurav Tripathi, he is Group CTO for Innoplexus AG, and Dr. Sunil Shekhawat, founder and CEO of SanchiConnect. Over to you, Gaurav. Applause for Gaurav and Govind
Hello.
and Sunil.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you for having me here, and it is really a pleasure. I know it's a post-lunch, so we'll try to not make it as sleepy as you think. So we will try to keep it very interactive. Feel free to ask questions. It's more like a conversation where we want to understand and we want to add value in the context of deep tech. It's, of course, as they say, there is a flavor of the month in startup nowadays that, every month there is or every regular time there is a flavor. But deep tech is something which, of course, has become very, very important as a conversation in the entire, the Bharat story, as we call it, the whole setup that we are talking about. And of course, the latest is about India launching the Make in India with a deep tech as a focus sector. So there is a lot is happening in this space, and that's the way to grow Indian startup entrepreneurship. That's how we will create the entire ecosystem. And one of the most, very, very interesting statistics around it is that India has seen 400% growth of deep tech startups in the last 4 years. And if you look at the investments, in the last few years, of course, it has not gone down as compared to other industries, right? So a lot of, I've had a fortune to meet a lot of, deep tech focused funds here. And they are always looking for very, very interesting startups and help them and knowing that that's the future of startup ecosystem as a whole. So, and of course, deep tech by definition is IP-led. When we call about that, okay, what is deep tech? Typically, the answer is that anything which is IP-led. So now the conversation that we are having today is about having to understand, how this IP-led really result into valuation, how we should approach. Should it be seen as just a paperwork or should it be seen as a strategy? And I am really fortunate to have, Sunil and Gaurav to be part of the panel and workshop because they have been there. Sunil being on the investor side, being in the NASSCOM Deep Tech, now running SanchiConnect, one of the India's largest deep tech pool of companies with investors and startups. And Gaurav running Innoplexus AG, raised more than 100 million euros, filed 180 patents, and a lot of grants in US in terms of IP. So I think it's a great opportunity for us to really understand from the experiences of here, gentlemen, that, how really IP can be leveraged in terms of valuation, how it can help, startups in a deep tech space or who want to be in a deep tech space to really, leverage that power of IP when they are going for the next round or when they are pitching to their customers or investors or their team itself. So I think let's start from there. So my first question to both of you, Gaurav and Sunil, is that how does intellectual property contribute to the valuation of a startup, particularly in the deep tech? Let's start from the topic which everybody wants to hear, valuation. Of course, we have to add value. Everybody now get that. But from valuation perspective, what's your thought? Really would love to understand from an experience. So please share some insights.
Thanks, Govind. And thank you for arranging this. Thank you for having me here. It's really the conversation around deep tech and IP, that we should be having more and more often. And I think this as a topic itself, there is very little awareness unfortunately, than it should have. And so it's really a commendable effort that you are taking. Uh, on the evaluation front, see, for us, so just to, for everybody to have the context and the background, Innoplexus, we are a life sciences focused AI company, yeah, which works with and for top 30 global pharmaceutical companies and top 5 CROs globally. Yeah. We help them in early stage drug discovery and the drug development. We help them with data, insights, AI models, platforms, everything. And in a very lay language, if I have to say, we tell pharma if their drugs will work or not. I mean, I have to say that. And in this, we are headquartered in Frankfurt. We started very much in India, but then our market was Europe, and we consolidated the company there. We moved. And I think being in Germany, we realized we were fortunate to realize the importance of IP, because when we started talking about technology and that, yeah, we have something unique, the immediate question from customers was, okay, do you have patents on it, right? Because when we say, oh, I have a unique technology, their understanding is, okay, then you should have patents, right? That's how we got into that, okay, IP is important. And I'll say as soon as we could afford, we started filing aggressively. And in the journey of building the company, and I should acknowledge here support from Govind and Architect Invent, really, it has been phenomenal, yeah, in terms of identifying the areas, and it helped us. It helped us in the story, in the investment story, as well as on the valuation. And on the straight away on the valuation front, I can say that our IP portfolio, so about 190 plus patents that are there, and 96th patent was granted very recently. Yeah, this portfolio we got valued from a third party, from a credible agency, right? And we have a valuation of that IP itself, which definitely helped us in growing the valuation of the company itself, right? So I'll say there is a very, for us at least, there is a very direct impact on the valuation. We were able to command a premium on the valuation because of the IP that we built. And it also gave that confidence to the incoming investors, right? That let's say even if we are unable to do anything, nothing works, we don't make money at all. They know that what they are buying into, what they are investing into is this IP. The IP will be there, right? And it's valued at a certain number already. Yeah.
So Sunil, you've been in the investment side, looked at DeepTech in India very, very closely. So, what's your thought on, how the IP conversation and how really, from a perception of investors, how IP should be looked at?
Thanks, Govind. So let me introduce myself first. So I run a company. We are part of a PE group. As a company, we happen to manage one of the largest deep tech community of the country with close to 2,000 curated IP-led startups, 200 plus institutional funds deploying capital in deep tech, 100 plus corporates, mentors, very senior people, the likes of President of Hinduja Group, UBP, UK, those kind of people, mentoring these guys. So everything started with a community around deep tech with founder at the center, and then eventually we started our own accelerator where we do invest in a very pre-seed capital, 75 lakh to a 1.5 crore kind of capital in partnership with our VC partners. Parallel to that, we have a product line also. But coming back to the point, because I've been part of this deep tech journey for the last 6 years, if not less. In my previous role at NASCOM as leading the Deep Tech Club program, and now managing and being part of a lot of conversations, not just where we are investing, but also where our investing partners are investing in startups. Suddenly, of course, the whole conversation starts with what's the depth of the problem that a founder is solving, and that really matters the most. But after a point, everyone wants to hear that, do you have a secret sauce? Because that's something which will keep you afloat, which will keep you sustain the competition beyond a point. Early traction is not a big deal. in most of the cases. But yes, if you have to survive in a difficult market, of course, you need to have something which is differentiating. And that's where we have seen IP leading the whole conversation after a point in the investor discussions also. The moment you get to know that, a patent is in filed state, or if it is granted, then you are at altogether a different status. It does matter, and we have seen jumps from anywhere between a 1.5 to 2x also from where the whole conversation was starting on the valuation front. So it does play a lot of role. And from the VC side, if I tell you, it's a very common sense based thing. Everyone wants to safeguard your investments, right? You're investing, you know that if there is something which is very unique, which nobody else in the world has, so that means to some extent my investments are safeguarded. At the worst, I can sell off this particular property and get some returns out of my investment, right? So it really plays out well for the founder. And of course, one important thing is, as a founder, you need to realize where is the potential of creating an IP. And that's where we have leveraged Govind and team. And yeah, happy to contribute more on this.
Yeah, no, thanks, Sunil. I think of course, been great being part of both the journeys very, very closely. But I think one of the because if you're talking about India, and Gaurav, you run a very large team in Pune, and generating so much of IP from an Indian team. What were your challenges? I think a lot of times, if you see the statistics, a lot of IP is coming, but high quality IP from India is still, question marks are being raised around the world. But you were successfully created, kind of very high quality IP, valued millions now, mostly from Indian talent. So what were your challenges, your learnings, which you would like to share with people that, how they should approach with their teams, that, Indian engineers and people can really generate great quality of IP. So what has been your learning around it?
Thanks. So in this journey, when we started, or we were getting started, I think the first challenge was the understanding of IP itself. And we are talking about IP, so IP is not just patents, the other components, but in terms of patents itself, what is patentable, yeah, and what should be patented. Also, patenting something from a business value perspective. That it's one that, yeah, you can come up with something and patent, but if it has no relevance to the business or no value for the business, it's a waste, right? So we had to drive this awareness, and I'll say we had to train people. And this again, Govind knows his team, and we conducted a lot of workshops. His team used to come, sit with our team members, take workshops, tell them what exactly is a patent, what it means, what can be patented, what should be patented. So for example, sitting with the team members, running these ideation workshops, yeah, asking them to come up with ideas, and then asking them to come up with ideas with respect to what they are doing. The day-to-day work, let's say the product on which they are working, the project on which they are working. In that, if they have implemented something which is unique, which has really led to an impact, yeah, to the customer as well. These were the ideas then which we used to pick up, right? So I think that was the first challenge, telling them, letting them know what needs to be done. Second was when we started, we also didn't have a complete overview. We used to think that, yeah, you file a patent and then fine, whatever the fees is there, that's not how it is. A patent is essentially, it's a life cycle, it's a complete journey. You can't simply just file something and forget about it. Yeah, you will have to keep working on it, maintaining it in terms of looking at the ultimate aim of patent. If it is to safeguard, yeah, then how do you circle is, how do you ring fence the word, right? So that again we learned, that we didn't know. So when we started we started understanding, and that's what the approach to patenting also evolved. That when we look at a particular IP, yeah, then we identify other IPs around it, right? And then build a very good structure such that nobody can easily circumvent around. And so this was again, the second challenge in terms of understanding the complete process and life cycle. Yeah.
No, thanks, Gaurav. Really, really useful. And Sunil, I think extension to this question that because you meet a lot of founders, talk to them. In your, general conversation, what problem do you see with the founder's mindset to the IP? Because like Gaurav said that he had a share of learnings around the journey. But I'm sure you had interacted so many founders in the deep tech space. What has been your learning in terms of their mindset challenge, in terms of IP, and what needs to change, so to say?
Thanks for asking this question, Govind. This is something very dear to my heart. And I tell you, when we start a journey, it is not that the founder starts with the thought process, oh, I'll create a patent. They just start with a problem statement, with a probable solution around it, and a way to address it. In that whole journey of creating a way to solve that problem, you end up building things which are little unique in nature. It could be a hardware, it could be a software, it could be an algorithm, whatever. But it's just the way you took, the approach that you took, which was so unique that you were not even aware of. And this is something that happens to us also, by the way. This is a discussion I was having with our CTO himself. You've created already so many modules of the product, and you're not educated enough to understand. It's a very unfortunate truth. My CTO, and it happens with most of the companies. A lot of CTOs, because we are all hardcore techies, we are so focused on building tech and solving the problem that we don't realize that there is a need of safeguarding this. Patent is just a way to safeguard it, right? So I think the biggest problem in this ecosystem is if we are filing 100 patents today, I personally feel that there is a possibility, there is a market of maybe 3x of it. It's just the lack of education and lack of knowledge among us as founders that what can be protected and what need to be protected.
Sure. No, thanks, Sunil. Now, I think one of the topic that we have, of course, picked up is leveraging the value of IP. Now, I think one of my observation has been that there has been little or no marketing of IP also, right? So Gaurav, I think we would like to learn from your experience. How did you inculcated this entire IP conversation in your, pitches or in your fundraise conversations? What were some of your learnings around it? What you should be saying, what you should not be saying about these conversations? Tell us some bit of secrets from your, rounds that you have raised.
Oh, thanks for asking this. Yeah, so in our case, I'd say we were a bit fortunate that it started coming from investors themselves. So we didn't have to, we didn't have an option, I say. We had to include it. But when we started getting this into the story, investment story, then we started realizing that, yeah, one, let's say the time of 2016, 2017, that was the time when the first wave around AI, people started learning more about AI. There were a lot of fundraising around AI that started happening. And in that period, we realized that the awareness in the investment community about AI was very low. They really didn't understand. Of course, nobody admitted that. But and that's what we realized, that it helped. We were able to leverage IP as a tool to drive home the point that, see, it's not a matter of that, doing an AI that you are using somebody's APIs. Yeah, you are using APIs here and there, and then you are able to call it an AI. Yeah, that is not how it's going to work. Again, we were one of the first ones to drive home the point that it's not the model per se or the algorithm per se that is important. When we say model, it's a combination of algorithm plus data. And in that, data is the most important piece. Yeah. When we started talking about it, people didn't understand really. Now everybody is talking about it. That data, is the key piece. And there again, some of the very early patents that we have. So it's like when we said something for the first time, yeah, probably they were not sure whether, because they have heard it first from us for the first time. They went back and spoke to others, and then they started seeing that validation. Oh, these guys are really talking sense, because that's where the world is heading. Yeah. So and our IP trajectory, our IP journey really showed that we laid a lot of emphasis on data, right? So it was evident in our the patents that we are filing. So for example, our patents around how do we extract the data? Yeah, how are we picking out the right pieces of data from all the data dump that we have? How are we able to tie the different pieces together? Having the knowledge graph, right? Ontology and so on. So that helped us in terms of building the investor conversations as well, and it helped us show the progress. That see, we are not talking about something that we have built today, and we are saying, yeah, now it is done, and this is all we are going to work on. We were able to show a path that today we are here. This is where our core IP is, and the future looks like this. So in all our presentations, the investor pitches as well, we had slides on IP. We used to showcase the portfolio, and then in our data room, the investor data room, and in due diligences, we used to submit very detailed reports around what the IP is, how the IP is connected to the business, how the IP is connected to the products, right? And what's the future IP, the areas in which we are going to file IP. Because naturally, when we are asking for investment, we are also allocating a certain part of that investment to the IP very clearly. Yeah. So that helped everybody understand that, yeah, it's not that we are just talking about it. It's very much ingrained with the business.
Thanks, Gaurav. And I think a short extension to this question for you, Sunil, that what investors would like to really hear about IP. I think we talked about mindset, and that you shared that how it needs to change. But if you are in from an investor lens, what are the things that a founder should be prepared on the IP story, at least when they are going and pitching to an investor? Some insights on that would be really useful.
First of all, having an IP is always an edge over, because do understand that an investor, there is a flavor of every season, right? And when they are talking to you on a particular business line, do consider that there are other founders also in the same business stream that investors are evaluating. So at any point of time, they are evaluating multiple deals in that segment. So now, who's having the strongest IP, or who is having the strongest potential of having a future IP, which is patentable and defendable, which is an IP which is able to defend their business, becomes the decision maker at times. And I have personally seen and been part of those conversations with some of the VC partners, where there is a tie between two startups. Okay, both of them are looking great, but let's go for them because they have got a strong tech team and they have already created something which is already filed in US, and there is a high potential probability that they are going to get it granted. It really works out well. So long story short, that's how we see it, and that's how I've seen it playing very critical, playing at a very critical points. Many a times, even founders don't realize what really played for them in that whole conversation, but that's happening behind side.
Right. No, thanks, Sunil. I think I do want to take some questions. Otherwise, I do have a reserved question, by the way. But if there are questions from the audience for our panelists or myself, happy to take over. Narayan has a question. So.
Hi, thank you so much, Govind, for giving me an opportunity to ask this question. As long as I understand, we are talking about patents, IP, and AI. As long as my limited knowledge goes that, AI is basically algorithms, computer programs, which are not typically patentable. So how do you basically, if my knowledge is obscure, please, help me understand this.
No, so AI, not at all. I don't know how many of you would have heard about it, there's a term called GAN, yeah, generative adversarial networks. That field that is where the generative AI started coming, yeah. And the guy who invented GANs was a 24-year-old who Google then got, and Google actually hired him not just because that he had written a paper and he had invented. Google knew the power of the invention behind it, and the key patents around GAN are still with him and Google, right? So there's definitely, it's not like, so algorithms can't be patented, but then see, there are you patent, so processes, and I think on detail side, Govind can tell, but there is a lot that you patent and you need to, because the approaches are different, the systems are different, how do you do things, right? It's different. So it's not that most of the algorithms, even today, all the AI that is running, the algorithms are pretty much which were, let's say, developed or came into being almost 30 years back. At an algorithm, nothing has changed. But again, AI is not algorithm. AI is model. Model is not algorithm. Model is algorithm plus data. As I said, data is the most important piece. It's not the algorithm.
No, thanks. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Is data patentable? A specific data set, can it be patentable?
See, data per se may not be patentable. That you can't patent data. But how you are creating a certain data set which is valuable for a particular business or for a particular business process, right? Or for even for a particular model, that definitely can be patented. And now we see, so the entire core of, let's say, why ChatGPT is ChatGPT and why it was able to beat Google and Microsoft is because the way they were able to use the same data. It's all public data. It was available with everybody. It was available for Google like from day one, right? But how ChatGPT was able to do it, that's the difference.
And I think the way to think about patents and IP around the algorithms and softwares is that, are you solving a technical problem, right? For example, if there is a certain algorithm which needed like a very heavy GPU, right, for example, and then you came up with a solution that it can be run on a Pi machine, right? So that itself can be a patentable a subject matter because you are doing something technical in nature. So as long as you can think about a technical problem and the technical solution, I think that's the most simplest mental model to think, okay, what is patentable or what is not. If you have a questions, of course, you can reach out to us all the time. But with that, I think you must talk to somebody who can guide you on those conversations.
And I can already highlight a bit. I see my ex-teammate, Sanchit here. He was one of the data scientists, and now he's running his own startup. And he just told me, he has his patent just got granted. He calls it seeing by listening, right? But he solved a problem. He solved a problem for visually impaired people, how they can see without seeing, right? So if you solve a problem, definitely we can patent. And since he mentioned GPU, our 96 patent that were granted is very much on how we use GPUs to do something, right? That's how it is.
Vishal, question.
I think, first of all, such a wonderful session. When we think about technology, we have to think about IP. So one of the things that when we look at pitches, people say the patent is filed, right? And then patent is filed is one valuation. But when the patent gets published, right, what is the kind of value inflection you see in reality? Is it 10x opportunity? Is it 20x? What has been your sort of experience looking at it? Because most of the time when you fund companies at early stage, they don't have patent granted. And but then what is the kind of upside one can see? What's your retrospective view on that? Maybe I'm sure all of you have seen that. So it'll be good to hear your perspective.
Well, I think, Gaurav, you will share your real stories. I would rather...
because you've done multiple rounds of raise, right?
So yeah, that's again one of the things which we also didn't know. Honestly, when we filed the first batch of the patent, we thought, oh, the job is done. But yes, exactly. But then, and thanks to having such a strong partner like Govind and his team, they made us understand that, see, you have to work till that point. You have to, and then even how do you get a patent granted, right? That itself, I'll say it's a combination of science and art. These guys are there. how they were able to actually help. They sat, their teams, had sessions with the examiners, asking the right questions, satisfying their queries, and then we were able to accelerate certain patent grants, right? And why? Because the question that you asked, we have definitely seen a jump. When you say that, yeah, these are the patents which are filed, the moment it is granted, the conversation changes, completely changes. At least in our case, when you used to say, yeah, these are filed, everybody was like, they're sitting on the fence. They're still, okay, fine, yeah, let's see if you get it granted. For us, luckily, the way it happened, and along with luck, again, the team, right? The way we had gone for it, our grant rate has been really 90%. It is unheard of in the industry, right? And that's what brings the confidence to the investors, that if we are saying, guys, we have 95 patents granted, 96 granted, and we have 100 plus in the pipeline, they know that out of these 100, 90 are again going to be granted. And these are very key areas. And the value of the patent also is when we start seeing the citations and the references from, I'm proud to share that all of the patents that we have, they are being cited by who's who. So Microsoft, Google, Apple, yes, all, right? So that shows again the value that we have really built something which is of top quality.
I think one thing I do want to add here, Vishal, is that, filing, you can file anything. You can pick up a piece of paper and file it. But what happens in due diligence is that you go deep and see what are the claims, what is really making sense, is it related to the business or not. For sometimes investors like, हाँ ठीक है, patent grant हो गया, ठीक है. But when you go really deep into that conversation, that's where the whole quality conversation comes in. That, okay, does it really cover, like Gaurav talked about how to protect the fencing and how to ring fence the entire portfolio. That also becomes very, very important, that investors should also be mindful that just file and having a grant itself may not be always depending on how much money you are putting in, to be fair. But I think that's also important. Quality element has to be there. What's the use of a fence when there is no moat that nobody just pass through that fence? So it should not also happen. So I think that would be my 2 cents on this. Any last questions? Because I think we are out of time.
This was my question actually, which you have answered, right? That, nowadays, whenever I talk to any startup, right, they have ample amount of, IPs. But what is the value, what is the quality of these IPs? Or is it just a valuation game? So I just want to ask this question.
So I think I'll leave it. I will add few, and then Gaurav, maybe you can add, is that it's something that, of course, quality has to be there. Look, you can file tens of hundreds of patents, maybe get few grants also, right? But if it is not helping you a business, and at some point it will kind of, it's a bubble that will bust, right? So if it is like a valuation conversation that everybody has, so there is a balance between, quality and the valuation conversation, right? That, of course, when you file a lot of patents, then are you really filing with the quality? Does it really cover your business? Does it really have some value around the technology or product that you have built? I think Gaurav can add, this quality is very, very important in how Gaurav was able to navigate that.
Yeah. So on the quality side, again, it should be something which is very much visible, that yes, your business is very much dependent and linked, right? It should not be something that you are doing X and the patents and the IP that you are building is in Y, and X and Y are 90 degrees, right? It should be very much what you are doing, it's linked to it, and then you are able to build on it, right? Because as you keep building the product, solutions, and as you are taking in more and more customers, the problem which you thought is solved and IP that you have built, you will keep coming across even finer details, nuances, and you keep, building more IP around it, right? And that's how it is. So you keep building the value, and then anybody who looks at it then knows that, okay, this whole area is dominated by this company. It's better not to get into that, and that's where at some day that conversation starts that, fine, we can't beat these guys. Why don't we license it from them, right? And that is what happens in the industry. right? I mean, it may look like all these are rivals at the large level, the large companies, but if you dig deep, a lot of them are cross-licensing, right? Google is licensing patents from other companies, Apple is licensing patents from other companies, right? Microsoft is licensing, IBM, and so on. So there is a lot of cross-licensing, and that happens when you are able to define a particular area and protect it.
So that's
Very
fine,
similar
right?
to, you know what,
That's fine.
the
that,
number of patents, the number of patents lying in academic institutes in this country has got no comparison versus outside. But still, what is the value of it? I think that's where we need to look at it. There is no value of it if you're not able to make money out of it.
I think we are out of time before we get thrown from the stage. I would like to, we will be here and we will be definitely visit DeepTech Lounge. We will be there to answer any questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. I think it was
may
really
I add
added
one-
value to our understanding to know about IP in the valuation system. Thank you so much. We would like to present our panelists a token of appreciation. Dr. Vishal, would you like to just convey and pass on the token? Yeah. Thank you, Gaurav. To Gaurav, please. We are thanking our gifting partners, Naturic Gift Company, for this wonderful speaker gift. And to Dr. Sunil. Thank you, Vishal, thank you. And we are thanking our platinum partners, Maruti Suzuki Innovation, gold partner Microsoft, and Havas.